I was discriminated against at an amusement park.
Let's talk about that.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Allie. I'm Sabrina.
And we live in Nashville, Tennessee. Good Mythical Morning.
Good Mythical Morning!
Today's episode is brought to you by RhettandLink.com/store. That's the Rhett and Link store where you can pick up some things like shirts and shoes, and we don't have hats because I don't look good in a hat.
But you can get the official Good Mythical Morning t-shirt. Represent, people! Here we go. It's a day filled with discrimination. I love those kind of days.
Really?
No, that was just
You were being facetious.
Yeah, I want to know, how are you
facetious?
How are you discriminated against?
Okay, well, let me get to that. Let me get to how I was discriminated against, because that was really a tease, to get people to watch the whole episode.
Okay, so just don't wait until the very end to tell that part of it.
I'll tell it about it in the middle. Don't fast forward, though.
It won't make sense.
Did you hear they're doing away with the fast forward ability on YouTube next week? That's a joke. Okay, all right. I went to Legoland to celebrate my 4-year-old son's birthday.
Happy birthday, Shepherd.
And
what is he, 4 now?
He's 4, yep. Wow. So we went there a few days ago to celebrate his 4th birthday. And I had been to Legoland once with you and your children, and also I brought my children. I didn't just go tag along. We went together.
You're going to Legoland, can I come?
And I will say, if you've never been to Legoland, it definitely is a kid's thing. Okay, so
well, it's based on a toy, right? I mean, what were you expecting?
Well, I mean, Disney World or Disneyland or Universal Studios, those are places like a full family enjoyment experience. I mean, there are things that kids can't go on.
Yeah.
At Legoland, it's like everything's for kids. I mean, my kids being 4 and 8, it's like right in the sweet spot. They had a great time, and I'll admit that I'm entering into that stage where I'm enjoying things vicariously. I see the look on my 4-year-old son's face as he goes down a water slide and comes out in the water, and I'm like, I'm having a good time because he's having a good time. I'm just sitting here.
He comes out at the bottom, he's like, and you're like, I'm having a good time.
I don't enjoy watching my kids drown. So I had a legitimate...
He didn't do that, right?
No, he's very, very good in the water.
Oh, yeah.
I had a good time, but I will say... Oh, and also, I met some mythical beasts. I met 4 groups of mythical beasts while at Legoland.
Did you charge like admission for them to see you or something?
No.
Did you set up a booth?
They just came up. One guy came up and said, "Hey, we watch Good Mythical Morning every day."
Really?
And we had a couple other families. Anyway, if you see us out somewhere and you watch Good Mythical Morning or anything we've done, hey, don't be shy. Just come up. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
Did they give you
get a picture?
The mythical handshake?
No, people don't do that. People are afraid of that. See, I don't even know how to do it. See? Yeah, we don't really, we're not promoting that too well.
It's an underground thing.
So anyway, so many of these rides are for children that I'm just on them and I'm like, oh, isn't this great, boys? Aren't you having a great time? And I'm like, this is so lame.
They're all made of Legos, right? They could fall apart at any moment?
No, they're actually legitimate roller coasters and stuff, but it's, little...
For 8-year-olds.
8-year-olds.
Or 4-year-olds.
Or 4-year-olds. But they have this one thing called, and you remember this because you wrote it, it's like called...
Don't tell me what I remember. I'll tell you what I remember.
The Joust.
I remember that.
Yeah, see? You remember it. And this is
the only ride that was not for kids.
And you went on it by yourself.
Remember it.
And you can go levels 1 through 5. And so you were like, we put you on level 5, and it was crazy.
So explain what it looks like here.
You get
Because I remember
into
there was
this
a
thing.
a
You get
pond.
into this thing over a pond, and it's this arm that just turns you over and flips you upside down, and just
It looks
throws
like
your body in a lot of different
It looks like
directions.
a robotic arm that you see in like an automobile manufacturing plant, like zzz, 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 except instead of it having like
There's people on the
a
end
claw,
of it.
there's a person on the end of it, and it's just
2 people.
zzz, 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 and then it'll spin you this way.
And the first time we went, I didn't ride it because I've got a bad back, and I'm like, and it says don't ride it if you have a bad back. So I'm like, okay, well, Link, you do this, and you were like, this is enjoyable. This is like the one like adult thing that happens at Legoland in terms of rides.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I go out there with Locke, and he's over 48 inches tall. So I'm like, okay, we can both go on this thing. So.
And you can choose the intensity 1 through 5.
You have to choose. They have to be over like 55 inches in order to choose above level 2. So it was like level 2. I'm like, okay, this is good. Locke's gonna have a blast.
Because I did level 5.
Right.
And it was very nauseating.
Yeah, and I probably would throw up if I did that. Anyway, I get on the ride, and when you get on the ride, you turn and face the crowd that is lined up. Mm-hmm. So everybody kind of sees you get into this thing. So I get down into the chair, and I face the crowd.
Everybody's waiting for you to vomit.
Right, and I face the crowd, and this one little girl says, Rhett! Rhett! It's Rhett! I'm like, hey! So now everybody's looking at me. And that moment, the ride operator comes up to me.
Because you're like 20 feet above everybody.
No, you're not. I was there.
Oh.
You're 20 feet above the water. You're directly eye level with the people.
I thought you were talking about the people.
Leave the details up to me. Okay, so
you tell me what you remember.
I'm just what I'm doing. And I've got a lot more to talk about, so let me get to it. Okay, so I'm facing this group of people. Now I've been called out. Now I'm waving back at this girl. Hey! So all the attention's on me, and that's when the ride operator comes up to me and says, how tall are you? Like 6'7"?
You were guessing at this point?
I'm worried at this point. He's like, I'm going to have to ask you to get off the ride, sir. You're too tall for the ride. You could be decapitated.
Really? He said you could be decapitated?
No, but I felt that in his eyes. I felt
so
like
you knew it was for your own safety. It wasn't because he just didn't, he didn't like it.
And so then I was the guy that was like, I had to get up, walk down take the walk of shame past everyone. And he was like, now I was like, well, my wife is out there. She could come riding. He said, yeah, come on in the exit. And so my wife and Locke rode it together. They had a great time. But there's all these bars all over the park. Like you come up to any ride and there's this bar. It's like, are you this tall? Are you this tall? I've never paid attention to the bars because since I was a fetus, I was tall enough to ride anything. I was 48 inches long when I was born. A lot of people don't know that. And 60% of the people who watch are going to believe that that's true. So I've always just disregarded the bars. But now they should have, why don't they have the top bar and be like, if you're I should have been warned before I got to the ride, is what I'm saying. There should have been an upper limit so I could be like, whoop.
There was.
Too tall.
You didn't miss it. It just wasn't there.
It was not there. They wait to humiliate you in front of everyone.
You were discriminated against.
Yeah, the tall people. They don't care about the tall people.
You were protected. You weren't discriminated
against. All this focus on the short people, but the tall people get the shaft.
They discriminated that you were too tall, so then they didn't incriminate.
I'm okay with it.
There's nothing wrong with being discriminated.
There are some advantages to being tall. I understand. I've moved on. I'm not bitter about it. Can't you tell?
Well, you probably would have thrown up anyway.
But one of the most fun things that happened was we go to the water slides. There's a water park they've added to. They've added most of the slides go like this. They've added it to the park. So I was
Universal
like,
symbol for water slide.
This is going to be fun. So we go and we get to the water slide, and I'm like, this line is taking forever. And I get up to the top, and that's when I realized that they're requiring the person in front of you has to go all the way down the slide, get into the landing pool, then get out of the landing pool, and then some lifeguard holds up a green stick, and then they let you go. I was like, this is taking too long.
This is a long slide we're talking about.
When we were kids and we went to Emerald Point in Greensboro.
Oh, yeah.
They would just like, one kid after another, you'd run into other kids, you'd pass other kids. Safety was just such an afterthought. But now
that's what created the current. Was the kid behind you was like sending a rush of water in front of him, and that's what made the current. They didn't even have to pressurize the water.
Well, that's not true. But they didn't care about safety at all. When we were kids,
it was just about fun.
When our parents were kids, there was no water on the water slide. It was just like a steel chute or something. You
going
got burned all over the place.
And they were naked, so it was
totally
like on your butt. Just.
When we were kids, they at least added water to the water slides. But now they've got all these special tools and they got to make sure no one can get hurt. And then I started looking around at all the signs around the water park. And I was like, they didn't have all these signs when we were kids. Look at this sign. Do not enter the water if you are ill with diarrhea.
Ah! Gosh!
So...
Is that it? Was that the best part?
That's the main thing to focus on here. Now, it got me thinking, this sign exists because at some point in the past, a child or maybe an adult man who was ill with diarrhea entered the pool and then dispersed the diarrhea.
If you're swimming in a pool and you're feeling something cool, diarrhea. Diarrhea.
I don't think that's how it goes.
That is.
Feeling something cool?
That's what we sang in elementary school.
But it's hot. It's not cool unless something's wrong with
It rhymes with pool.
it. It is diarrhea, though.
Ask your kids; they probably know the proper jingle.
But
if you're driving in a Chevy and you're feeling something heavy, diarrhea, diarrhea. You remember that?
I think okay. But think about this. At some point in the past, they had to evacuate the pool because of a kid in diarrhea. And they were like,
they're draining the pool and they're saying, somebody make a sign! This is not happening again!
So I will say that as time has gone on.
How do you spell diarrhea?
Exactly. Some things have improved, as in the warning about diarrhea. This is a good thing. Because, listen, I already know that this pool that I'm swimming in is full of kids' urine. And my own, just to be honest with you. I mean, Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte admitted it. They pee in the pool. I didn't pee in the pool at Legoland, but I did pee in the lazy river. Just kidding.
Well, it's so relaxing.
I already know that I'm swimming amidst kids' urine. I don't want to be in the diarrhea, though.
So, as I spin the wheel to end this episode, at least the guy didn't come up to you on the articulated arm and say, excuse me, sir,
Do you have diarrhea?
are you ill with diarrhea?
Wow, that could get really messy when they start spinning you around.
The height thing is much better than that. I don't want to be discriminated against because I'm ill with anything. Or I do, I guess.
Oh!
So close to the red one! UFO landing. Well, we're out here in this field just minding our own business.
What?
You see that?
Some sort of ship.
Some sort of ship?
Ship. Doesn't seem human. Doesn't seem earthly. Seems otherworldly.
Let's go up to it and get inside of it. Ask to be probed.